Good morning, everybody, and welcome. It is Friday, and you know how much I love me some Friday, especially when it's Fun Friend Friday and we have an awesome guest like my friend Donna Rice, who will be jumping in and joining us in a minute. So as you come on board, do me two things. Say good morning and then say good morning to Donna so that we can start off on a big and positive and loud and somewhat maybe obnoxious voice. You know, a lot of people that know me know that I'm not afraid to come in a room, be loud, be crazy, be obnoxious. And so I'm just encouraging you to do the same. Why not? This is your life. This is your life. Why shouldn't you live it loud? Live it boldly, as we learned earlier this week from my good friend, Barbara Gustafson, on her author talk, which was Wednesday. It's amazing. If you did, good morning, Miss Gail. Are you heading to IMC? By the way, anybody that's coming in, watching in replay, etc., 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 if you're getting it through the share and you're heading off to IMC, you'll know what IMC is if you're heading off. Drop me a note, drop me a hello. My pseudo little sister, I sort of adopted her because she's an only and she needed a big brother to watch over her, is going down to IMC for the first time. And so I'm going to make sure she connects with the power players, the negotiators, and the movers in the room, so that she can have an above awesome experience. I mean, it's an awesome experience anyhow, but I know if I connect her with the right people, she'll have an above awesome experience. So Gail, great. I'm going to connect you to Cassidy and you guys can work it out. Because I told her I told her this is not sitting poolside. This is work and learning time. That's what big brothers do. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for joining me this morning on Fun Friend Friday and sharing this out to your community. Yesterday, you know, it was interesting because as we closed out our Success Life Live, I talked about the importance of sharing it. And the reason that I encourage you to share it isn't for vanity's sake. It's because I only have this little tiny, like this little tiny footprint through my Facebook Live, through what I do. And when you take a moment and you share it and you contribute and you comment, that footprint becomes a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And pretty soon it becomes a stomping giant footprint. And what that does is it brings impact and influence into the world, not for my benefit, but for the people that are receiving it. Often when I do these Facebook Lives, these Success Life mornings, these teachings, you know, I sometimes say it's through me, not from me. That what I'm speaking about, what I'm hearing and what I'm teaching is new to me as well. And so there's obviously a reason in the universe it's being sold or said, so to speak. And so I want to make sure that we understand that the sharing out, the giving of the knowledge is really just the echoing of a pebble dropped in a pond. It's going to bump across somebody, and yesterday it did. Somebody commented and said that was the first time they had seen me, and they really enjoyed it, and it was a lesson that they had been struggling with, and they appreciated da-da-da-da-da. And so that's all I'm telling you. It just see what you can do. Make an impact in the world on your own or through me or in combination. So we're going to get started with Fun Friend Friday and my friend Donna Rice. I'm going to go ahead and find her here in the room. She's a pro at this because she spends the day through Belief Hacker Nation. So I didn't even get to do a rehearse. There's the pro.
Good morning.
Good
Here
morning.
I am. It worked. It worked.
It worked. You are, I mean, like, how many times a day do you do Belief Hacker?
Oh my gosh. It's we never even really intended to do it as often as we do, but we're pretty much 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day. It really is exactly like you were saying, when we connect with people and we want to send a message out there. That's the most important part of it. That's what we're here for. So if it was 10 times a day, I think I'd be 10 times happier because
it was fun because I had been worried about Boyd, who was your guest yesterday.
Yes.
You had 2 guests yesterday.
I
Dr.
did,
Tanya
yeah.
Lowe, who is my sister on the other side of town. And
She's
Boyd,
amazing.
yeah. And I kind of, you know, been watching Boyd's story and his surgery and his recovery, and I keep meaning to connect with him, like we all do. And then there you were on Belief Hacker Nation, giving me an hour plus of Boyd and his wisdom and his teaching. So thank you for helping me do that.
Oh, that's awesome. It was my pleasure. And it was really a pleasure for me. I love Boyd. He's such a dear friend. And just to have, it's interesting because it wasn't necessarily in the end a typical Belief Hacker Mind Shift moment or podcast, but he needed to get out there. People needed to see him. And it was 2 hours actually, and it was amazing, but it flew by like crazy. And it was a blessing and a privilege for Bill and I to be able to have Boyd with us. But I know, and Boyd wrote me afterwards and said, thank you. And so I'm like, no, thank you, because I know so many people wanted to hear from him. And it is when you have a friend, a colleague, someone that, you know, in our tribe, in our John Maxwell team tribe, that goes through something as serious as he did, it's hard, because it's, you never, do I reach out? Do I not reach out? At what stage of his healing is he in? Does he want to hear from people? Does he not want to hear from people? So it was just wonderful.
And I mean, it was interesting because he really rose to the moment. So you brought out the best in Boyd.
He sure did. It was just absolutely wonderful and heartwarming.
And what was interesting, and we're going to jump into you in a minute. Sorry, it's all about.
No, that's good. It's just good. I like this.
I did. So if you've never done a watch party, like if right now you're watching me live and you hit watch, that means everybody else is watching it live through your stream. I did a watch party on it for the hour that I was allowed to watch because I was caught up.
Oh, I didn't even know. That's awesome.
So somebody was like, who is this Boyd guy? And they had never known him. They didn't know of you and Belief Hacker Nation, because that's just the nature of the universe.
Exactly.
And they were able to learn about Boyd's story, and they have a family member that has had traumatic head injury. Wow. So the story is very similar, but not the same. But because of that, hitting the share button, hitting the watch button, they could now hear how Boyd was experiencing his traumatic head injury, his brain tumor, and they could relate better to their family member who they were getting frustrated with.
Isn't that amazing? And that's the power of it. And as I was listening to you speak and talk about Gail and talk about sharing the story and things that come through you, I mean, that is the power of it. And it's not, we're not here for any vanity's sake, that's for sure. We don't want to be celebrities or anything.
We don't get to monetize this, do we?
No, we don't.
Gail
exactly.
Said she didn't know what was going on until she saw it on my watch party, and so she just stayed on mine and so you guys, as we build this thing called, in your case, the Belief Hacker Nation, but this Mindset Nation, these people that are trying to transform and make an impact on the world, every one of them comes from a place of sincerity of service. And so when you hear the idea of share it out, contribute, give it away, it really is their intention is they want to see how many people they can give their life to. And they're just asking you to help. And so I love what you do with Belief Hacker Nation. It is often unscheduled and unplanned. But you're like, we are in the moment. And because we're in the moment, we are going to give this moment away.
Absolutely. And, you know, a really important point that I want to make, and I want to emphasize what you had said, Eric, about messages coming through you. And sometimes it's hard for some people to grasp that and to understand. But I'm going to give you a perfect example. Yesterday, we fell into doing this. I mean, we had originally said, well, Bill had started with Brian Murphy out of Chino, California, who is a pastor there. He had started doing the podcast, and one day said, well, why don't you join me? And then it was like, hey, we're going to go live with so-and-so today. And then it was like, oh, next week we've got 2 people, and now we're doing it every day, which is amazing. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world at all. And we do this out of the goodness of our heart. So then things kind of evolve as you go. And you know, Bill started saying, hey, Donna, do you want to say something before we start the interview? So then I thought, okay, yeah, I can think of something to say that I believe will help people. So yesterday when we went live with Boyd, it was like, oh, right. Oh, goodness, I have to have something else to say. And as Bill's saying, yeah, we're going to get to you in a minute, Donna. And I'm thinking, okay, what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? And I shared something that actually was a little bit difficult for me to share. Not difficult, but it's a bit scary for me to say out loud. And afterwards, I had so many people reach out to me to say, what you said was so important and so powerful, and it really impacted me. So that is the value of it. That's the power in it. And it comes, I didn't write it down. I didn't sit down and think, okay, what little tidbit am I going to say today? I'm sitting there going like, oh my goodness, what should I say? Okay, can I say this now? Can I, you know, I'm kind of scared, but I'll say it anyways. And that wasn't entirely me saying that. In all truth, it does come through us.
I think it's a testament to what you and I and other people that have moved into the space, that idea of a universal consciousness or a commonality, or
Yes.
Michael LeBlanc talks about that we're all part of the same ocean. We're just different expressions or different waves.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
when Barbara had said the other day, Barbara Gustafson, during
Yeah, she's
her often talk
amazing.
about people being isolated and yet showing up, like that idea of how can you be isolated when you lead a team or manage a group or are part of a project team, and how that internally we feel isolated even though externally we're connecting. And
Yes.
I think that when you had that moment yesterday, it was isolation calling out for an answer, and somehow it came to you as like, okay, I hear somebody, like spirit hears
Yes.
somebody needing something, and there's something inside of me that I guess I'm just supposed to dump and go.
Yep. Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love when you asked me the other day about, well, do we have any questions or any pre-form?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things in my practice when we're get a jump is that I always try and sit in silence before something scheduled shows up. And like,
Mm-hmm.
who am I supposed, and I'm asking above, who
Yes.
am I
Yeah.
supposed to be here? Or how am I supposed to be here? Or where
Mm-hmm.
am I supposed, like here and now, bring me here and now. And when I see that, I'm like, okay, bring all of my story, all of my history, all of my resources here and now, and then expand and contribute.
Mm-hmm.
It's so evident when you show up on Belief Hacker Nation. And first explain what Belief Hacker Nation is, and then I'll go to my question.
Okay, so Belief Hacker Nation is the brainchild of Dr. William Blaine Finley II. But Bill he had actually, in the process of doing his PhD, he was writing his dissertation and wanted to just really kind of remove himself from all of the stress and the pressure of that. And he had decided that, I mean, obviously he's a servant leader, he's been a pastor, he's been a coach, a high level coach of soccer in colleges for most of his life. So he's always been a leader and a teacher and a trainer and a master. And during his dissertation, he actually decided, I got to get out of the house. I got to do something different. And he started operating Uber. So in
I
that
have a
process,
PhD and I do Uber.
exactly, but he's Dr. Uber, right? So through that process, I mean, he really just did it to get out of the house initially, but he's very congenial, he's very talkative, he's a fun-loving guy, and he's intelligent and intellectual, and he likes to talk to people. So through his conversations, he realized, wow, like there's these amazing opportunities out there to learn and to give. And he continued to have the conversations, and it evolved into actually him asking people sometimes if he could record the conversations that they had. Sometimes they were seeking advice from him. A lot, I think. Sometimes he was probably seeking advice from them. And so he fell into this Dr. Uber role. And through that process, and he always knew once he finished his PhD, and by the way, this is completely unrehearsed, I'm making it up as I go, but hopefully Bill can sign off on this.
Bill will be like, yeah, I'll live that story.
Yeah, exactly. But through that process, he realized, like, he always had known that he wanted to serve, but wasn't sure, how do I serve and what do I do? What comes next? What is the next chapter? And through this Dr. Uber experience, and things evolved in his mind, and it came to him one day, I've got to help people with their mindset. The name on Easter Sunday, Belief Hacker, actually came to him on Easter Sunday, and things just kind of went from there. And there's a lot of other people that are involved, whether or not they're on camera or live with us. There's a lot of other people that contribute. A lot of really amazing, talented, experienced, and intelligent people. It's just that it just so happened that it's Bill and I and Brian on Sundays, we ended up going live. But there's a lot of great people behind the Belief Hacker Nation. But it really does come from a heart of wanting to serve. Bill and I we're both members of the John Maxwell team, like you are, and many of our dearest friends now. We had been talking back and forth about different things and maybe collaborating and doing some things together. And, Bill started saying, hey, I thought of this name, I thought of this idea. And he, we'd always kept saying, yeah, we're going to do something together. But the whole time he was forming the Belief Hacker Nation, finally I said, hey, can I get involved? Are you going to ask me to get involved? Is there something I can do here? And that's kind of how it started. And we started with a couple of challenges, and we're still in the process of figuring it all out. I know he's still in the process of figuring all out. Like I said, he's really the brain child behind it, but every single one of us involved just really have a heart to serve people and to help people and really help people with their mindset. And that's the most important thing. And right now, this is what we're doing. And we're doing it out of the goodness of our heart. It's what we want to do to serve people. And we always joke and laugh about it because I don't even want a salary. I just want a makeup and a hair budget. And one day, maybe
Wait a minute, there's
wardrobe.
money for a hair budget?
No, there is none. That's the problem. That's why I didn't get my hair curled today. That's why I look like this. But you know, and it is, for me, it's an honor and a privilege. And unfortunately, I was like on a highway traveling from the US to Canada in a raging snowstorm when I was supposed to be live with you, and I missed it, but it was amazing. I know it was amazing. But yeah,
I got to do the Sunday with Brian. I really want to connect with him again.
Oh, Brian's amazing.
I just felt a vibe with him. And what I love about and as I was going to say, what I love about the part that you play.
Yeah.
And I don't know your disc profile, but I'm probably guessing there's a lot of S and probably more C than I, if you're on that side. I don't know.
I'm I. Like definitely I. Yeah, but
IS?
Yeah, IS. But I kind of, you know, that's one of the things I love about DISC, because I recognize a lot of the traits of many of the categories. And the nice thing about it is that I have this whole conflicted self of like, sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm there. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. Like, because when you go back to the traditional or the psychometric tests of the past, they put you in one category and you live and breathe there. And I'm kind of like, no, I'm in conflict because I don't always live and breathe there.
But what I love about your S-ness in the Belief Hacker interviews, and you, Edward, is I love Belief Hacker Nation. It is relevant, inspiring, and engaging. Dr. Ed, we're starting to call him doctor because he's going after his doctorate.
Yes, yes.
Gail is also an IS. But what I love about your S-ness is I can see you as the observer during the conversation. Like, Gail's off. Yeah. You're just sort of like tucking yourself into the corner watching.
Yeah.
And the way you can summarize and bring an idea and filter it down and then deliver it softly but strongly is such a gift and a talent. How have you either developed that, or how has that served you and where you want to go next?
Oh, that's really, thank you. By the way, I take it as a very high compliment, because it's very interesting. It's really been through this process that I've come to realize that. And I've always known that let's talk about the conflicted personality, right? High energy, type A, extroverted, and so on, but with a lot of introverted tendencies to sit back and to observe and to try and draw out. And really, to answer that question, it's more, I really now have fully subscribed and engaged in that whole process of things coming through me. I'm just like, and I when I'm sitting back and I'm listening and observing, and I'm waiting. I'm really just waiting because I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And sometimes maybe I have to try, or not try harder, but maybe listen a little more intently. Like, there are times we go back and forth and nothing is rehearsed and nothing is anticipated. And sometimes, like, we usually trade questions. And even when you see Brian and Bill and I together, like, we kind of go around, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'm like, okay, it's Bill's question now. And Bill's like, hey, Donna, what about this? And I'm like, okay, wait a second, you know, but then I have to go, okay, boom, I got to come up with something. And it's not making it up, it's just accessing it. And that's really what I'm doing. That is really, and that's why I love it so much. And people are saying, well, you spend a lot of time, and, you know, how is this helping? This has been amazing and incredible for me, for my level of self-awareness, and for me as a person. And I love it. Now, to go back to coming out with something softly and gently, but an important point is that I've been that way most of, if not all of my life. And I've driven people crazy, especially the people closest to me, my family. Like, oh, can you please, like, enough already? Like, Mom, okay, don't explain that anymore. Or as, you know, as and my siblings and probably my parents, I probably drove them, especially my mom, probably drove them crazy. But there's always, I just have this strong, intense desire. If I know something that I think will help other people, I can't help but share it. Like, it's not even, I have to, I must.
I want to roll back because I think there was I mean, it was a big word, accessing it.
Mm-hmm.
This idea, and we talked about it yesterday as we closed out the I Am challenge of I am complete.
Mm-hmm.
And then to hear you just say, it's not rehearsed, I'm just accessing it. What does that feel like when you go into, okay, I've just got to access it. I'm sure that some of it is natural and some of it is like just spontaneous, but as someone that performs at the level that you perform at, there has to be some skill, some mastery, some intentionality to becoming aware of access.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just feels like it's something that flows. And I think, and I mean, Paul Martinelli talks about the levels of self-awareness, and people need to understand how important and how powerful that is, really and truly. And it probably took me some time to actually get there, or I probably always knew it, and I would sometimes recognize it in other people, but I didn't always recognize it in myself, which was kind of interesting. So I would understand when I was observing. You know, it's really about observation skills and really being intently focused on listening for every single cue, every hint, every bit of wisdom and knowledge, and being able to be that focused to access it. Now, there was a time in my life where I probably could recognize in other people that maybe they needed to have that level of self-awareness, but I didn't always tune into it myself. It was very much what I was seeing around me. And I mean, I've always been intent on personal growth, and I've always been a consumer of knowledge and education in that area. But I take it in, and maybe I didn't do anything with it. It's really been the last 2.5 years that I've really said, no, I've spent my whole life taking all this in. Now I got to do something with it.
So, and that's interesting because I think sometimes often people will say, you're very intuitive, you seem to have an ability to tune in at a different level. And I think we all do. How did you decide I will not be silent any longer? Like, what was the point that you said, this could cost me, but it will cost me more if I don't speak?
I think it was getting past a limiting belief, actually. It was getting past that limiting belief and that fear of what people are going to think, what people are going to say, and caring way too much about that, and putting way too much power in everybody outside of me than what was inside of me. And finally realizing what was inside of me was powerful. And it doesn't matter what people think or say or do, because I know, for me, I know there's somebody, and like you were saying today, it's like you share these things with people. And I had the pleasure of talking with Bridget and Ryan Krause. And Bridget, they're amazing together. And I know one of the things that Bridget had said to me was so impactful is she said is that someone needs to hear your voice, not everybody. So it's really figuring out, okay, that person didn't need to hear my voice. That wasn't the person that I was supposed to talk to. That wasn't the person that was supposed to hear what I have to say, but there's somebody that needs to hear what I have to say. And it's okay that it's not everybody. That's okay. But that was a big part of it for me as well. But honestly, it was getting past that limiting belief of being afraid. And it is how what you experience from the beginning of your life and how you were brought up and what people say. And I know, I mean, I love my family. I love my siblings, but and they got tired of listening to me. And so they would, you know, whether it was getting tired of listening to me or just not being in tune with what I had to say. So it started all there with, you know, a little bit of the teasing and the ridicule and all of those things. And you've got to find, you do have to find someone that does believe in you, that does support what you're saying. And we talk about borrowed beliefs and really boring those beliefs. Cause I can tell you, I can probably go back to till I was 4 or 5 years old and remember situations, not only the negative situations, but the positive situations as well. And what people said to me, and when they said, wow, you know, that's really what you had to say, what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, where you're going with this is kind of important. And for me, it was getting past that and being able to be comfortable to say, I'm going to say it anyways, because like I said, I think, you know, what I was hearing on the outside, I gave way too much power to that and gave no power to what I had on the inside.
So I love that idea. And I got to take a time out for a minute. I've got little Miss Wheelchair.
How is she?
And
how is she?
She's frustrated because she can't see me. So
okay,
I'm going to pop a question. Then for those of you that don't know, my daughter's in a wheelchair and she's kind of frustrated. She can't see me. So I'm going to jump and tend to her while you answer it.
Okay.
What is the difference between a belief hack and a belief busting, so to speak? Why is hacking different than busting or silencing or changing? Got it?
Got it. I got it. Okay. So the difference between a belief hack and a belief busting. Okay. I mean, it's a really good question. And I guess if you look at limiting beliefs, and sometimes we believe that we can actually bust through, obliterate them, get rid of them forever, but we can't, right? They're always going to be there. That voice is never going to go away. And like Paul says, it's norm, right? Norm's always there. And really hacking it, if you look at hacking, is finding a strategy, finding the solution to getting past that belief. So busting, and for me, I'm going to use the word obliterating. I mean, it really doesn't exist, because very often it'll always come back. And I've learned this so much through the conversations that we've had, through the mind shift moments in the podcast, because I know some people that come, I know them very well. Some people I've only met and spoken to for the very, very first time. But the people that I know and I've seen in their environment where they excel and where they thrive, and we have this perception of them that they have all the confidence in the world. They do not have any limiting beliefs. So that for me has been an awakening to understand that even when it seems as if they've busted, obliterated all of their limiting beliefs, or their limiting beliefs in a certain area, it's actually not true. Basically what they've done is they've developed a strategy and a solution to deal with it.
See, and that's why I loved when I first stumbled across Belief Hacker, because to me the hacking is like, okay, I've got to figure out the code, which comes, hacking code, not to undo it, but I've got to figure out the code that's making this thing run. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I figure out the code, then I can begin to hack the code to make it run the way that I want the code.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when we have these belief systems, when we start out, we're thinking, well, I'm never going to believe that about myself again. I'm like, you realize in making that statement, you just reaffirm the statement that you were trying. That's right. To, every time you say you're not going to listen to that voice in your head, you're actually listening to that voice in your head.
That's right. Because you're talking to it right now.
Just move past it.
Exactly.
And so when you talk about belief hacking and when you're doing it, what you're really saying is, okay, you're acknowledging the belief. You're like totally laying it out there naked on the middle of the dining room table kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then you're starting to pull it apart to figure out what pieces, where they came from, and if those are the pieces that need to be recoded, or if this is a piece that needs to be recoded, so that you can continue to live life functionally.
Yes, exactly. And even go beyond that and thrive and basically excel at something and reach your greatest potential in an area where a belief was holding you back. So it's like, it's more like, you know, we've had some guests, and I can't recall exactly who it was right now. It might have been Barbara, actually, but talked about, like, you know, building a bridge, building that bridge and getting over it or going around it, or and that's what it's all about. And like you said, it's writing that code, it's finding that solution, it's solving the problem. At the end, the problem is still a problem, or could be a problem at any given point in time. But the great thing about it is you've got the solution now. You know,
And
you
that,
solved it.
I love that visual of the bridge, because
Mm-hmm.
what I believe or what I want to believe or who I think I am versus who I want to become,
Mm-hmm.
somehow in my, and I always tease in my ridiculous stupidness, I thought bridges just showed up finished, like they just pulled them in and parked them.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, no, you realize they got to, like, first string a cable between the 2 points.
Yeah.
And then they got to create tension between those 2 points. And then they start moving material back and forth across those 2 points. And then maybe, you know, I was like, oh, you know, I guess somebody does have to go to the other side once, at least once.
Yeah. But, and even take it back a step, even more important than that, you need to know where your starting point is and where you want to go, where you want to end up. Right?
Yeah, building a bridge in the middle of nowhere. It's a beautiful bridge, but are you ever going to use it?
Yeah.
And I think as we begin to grow and entrepreneur and dream builders and all of that, we think sometimes the bridge that we need to build is this one, but it's the easy bridge. It's the obvious bridge. It's the, you know,
right.
Carmen talked about fear of success bridge, maybe.
Yeah.
And we start going, I'm going to build a bridge over my fear of success. And it's like, you know, as a coach and as an intuitive, you know, like as you are too, you're probably like, I don't think that's the bridge you're supposed to be working.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not hearing that as the destination point.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
When you have a coaching client, and I know you do coaching as well,
Mm-hmm.
when you have a coaching client that's over there building the bridge to nowhere, so to speak, how do you redirect them, or what advice would you give somebody that feels like they're all in on this belief, like this is the belief system I need to hack, when you know intuitively that, like, look, you got to go a little deeper. You got to go a little to the left and around the back and up the side.
I mean, it's really like we say in coaching. And now I'm going to take a step back for a second, because I have such an intense desire to help people, and I want to make sure that they're going to succeed, that I actually, when I first joined JMT, and I've been in the corporate world all my life, so I've always been coaching in, you know, in my career, in my personal life, with the kids and teams and so on. But I was like, I don't want to coach. I don't want to coach. I do not want to coach, until I went. And even as Christian was getting it on stage, I'm like, no, I don't want to coach. No, I can't. No, don't want to coach. Don't want to coach. Don't want to coach. And when Christian did his presentation, it was like, oh, okay, I get it now. And maybe I do want to coach. Maybe I could coach, because really at the end of the day, it is all about the essence of what I am, and it's helping people. And the power of that, and the way that we coach, is helping people help themselves. So really it is going through that process and trying to help them figure it out, because honestly, and I'm not faulting my family, because I probably did drive them crazy, and rightly so, because I always, if I found something valuable that I thought, oh, everybody needs to know this, I would just be going out there giving the information. You got to know this, you got to do this. And to a certain degree, maybe this is how you have to do it. So yeah, okay, I get it. I love my brothers and sisters, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And everyone else that might have been victim to me at some point in time in life. But really realizing that, okay, I'm not the person. They've got, like we always say, they've got to figure it out themselves. So try to draw them out. So it's listening and observing and really focusing in and honing in on everything they're saying, but not necessarily what they're saying verbally, but it's looking at that whole package. Is what is their demeanor around this? What's their body language? What's their tone? What's their facial expression when they're talking about something, for the positive and the good things? And when you realize that did you know that this is what actually lights you up? And they're like, no, I didn't really, why do you say that? And then basically giving them the evidence to help to convince them, at least to reflect upon that, to go, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. So it's helping them come to that conclusion, definitely on their own, because for a lot of personality, I mean, for many people and many personality types, being prescriptive and directive is just not going to work.
It's funny. And, when you attend IMC, and so many people will be attending it for the first time, and they see the big stage, and they see the room, and we have the speakers that come up that are doing their first maybe big audience moment speech, and you're like, that's what I want to do. And so as I sat there, I was like, that's what I want to do. Yeah. And then I got a coaching client who was like, oh my gosh. And then another. And as I began to get better at coaching, and I still keep myself on the low score, creating that space, creating that sacred. And I told somebody the other day when we were talking, it's like, I feel as if sometimes in the coaching process, I'm walking into a temple of transformation. Yeah. And I am not the minister, the person up front. We're just coming down the aisle together.
Yes. That's beautiful. I love that.
If you haven't experienced coaching, or if you've experienced it and that's not what it felt like, then you weren't in coaching. You were in training, you were in skill development, you were in something else, which has a benefit. And I will often tell coaching clients, are we here for a season or for a skill? Because I can help you with both, but they're going to feel very different. And if you're coming to me to learn about you versus learn how to do, we got to go do it. And so, if you haven't been in that experience as a coach, with a coach, and that idea of like, man, somebody is listening and hearing me at a level I've never been heard before.
Yes.
That's the essence of coaching. And that's why I think you're such a master at it. Watching you through Belief Hacker Nation is because not everything needs to be discussed.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%. And it was Ray Popham, and we did an amazing interview with Ray as well. And I've probably repeated this 50 times since then, but when Ray said you need to see with your eyes closed, it was just like, oh, that is so powerful. And people need to understand and get that. You absolutely need to see with your eyes closed. It was extremely powerful.
I love that, and it so validates me. I'm just feeling like I'm sitting on top of the pony now.
Because that's perfect.
When people are like, can we do coaching Skype? And I try and avoid it if it's a must for them.
Yes.
Because often I'm literally sitting with my hands pushing against my eyes, so that there's not it's all going through here, because I'm an auditory processor, and so. Or I'll be staring, literally I've got like a blank wall behind my desk, and I'll turn around and just stare at the blank wall, and I feel as if I'm traveling thousands of miles to arrive. So I'm stealing that from you, who you stole it from Ray.
From Ray.
So Ray, it now belongs to me because I'm the third person in the line.
Yeah, that's right. You're allowed now.
You have to see with your eyes closed. And it's funny because Avatar does that. The movie says, I see you. And then they go on to explain that when in the Avatar they say, I see you, it's not the physical you, it's all of the light and the energy that's mixed into that movie. What is one of the things, and I love Belief Hacker, it's so frequent that I feel like I should just quit my job and watch it full time. Just so you know, the reason I'm not there all the time, full time, is you guys are pulling out a lot of content. If you're like me, you probably go back and listen and then take notes. And be like, whoa, where'd that come from?
I do.
What are the ones that you've and you don't have to give credit so nobody feels like they were slighted. What are the ones that you sort of pulled to the left and been like, man, I'm keeping these close? Aside from Ray's.
I mean, definitely Ray, for sure. And there's always
not so much to people, because we don't want to get people upset.
Yeah, no, exactly. We
got lots of egos.
Yeah, I think, we do. We do. No, it wasn't.
We say that with love, because, I'm an I, so.
With great love. There has been so many. It is a difficult question to answer, because I will tell you that there hasn't been one where something powerful hasn't come out of. And I'm not avoiding answer the question, because there's a few in a moment that that I'll talk about. But there has not been one where there hasn't been something extremely powerful and rich as a result of the conversation. And I know myself, whether it, I know that there's people out there that it will resonate with. And always, when I'm doing this, there's always people coming to my mind like, oh my gosh, I got to tell so-and-so to watch this. I need to make sure that this person hears this, or this person is perfect to, you know, this is a perfect message for that person. So there hasn't been one. And I will say that there's two things that I can say here. One is when people say through our conversations statements like, wow, I never said that before. I've never told anyone this. Or, wow, I never realized that about myself. Or, I'm going to tell you something now that I've never said out loud before. I mean, you can't get more powerful than that. And I'm sitting there going like, oh, because we invited them to have a conversation with us, this is happening. Like, for me, that has been incredibly impactful.
And I'll add to that, and that's why I encourage people to make comments. Don't just sit on the sideline and watch it and give a like or a thumbs up, because when you hear it and you comment, I may not have heard it. 3 other people in the room may not have heard it because their awareness or
that's
whatever.
right, exactly.
But when they see it, they're like, who said, like, and people have done that for me. They'll make a comment, or they'll recapture something I said, or put it in the comment, and I'm like, who said, like, I'm looking around like, who said that? And they're like, you just did. And I'm like, I've never heard that come out of me before.
Yes, it's so true. That's so true. That's happened to me too. When someone has repeated something and I'm like, did I say that? Like, yeah, it's so true.
And it's not that we're disconnected. It's just,
no.
Sometimes it's also up here that when it slows down to come out here, and I'll say this often sometimes at home, I'll say, I know what I'm thinking, but I'm not sure I'm saying it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say it and see what happens?
Yeah.
Like, if I screw it up, don't like start shooting me in the arrow, arrows in the back.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Understand that might be the first time I've said it out loud, and I've got to hear what it sounds like as it vibrates in the room versus vibrates in my head.
Absolutely.
So again, I encourage you guys that are watching this or watching Belief Hacker Nation, or anybody, they love the likes, they love the smiles, they love the happy hearts. But as you probably will agree, what we want to know is, was there something in that moment that left a vibration? Because if it did, then not only do I know that I'm listening and tuning in and being aware of myself and other people in the journey of growth, but that I want to go out and try and gather more of that, to give more of that, because obviously the world is seeking it.
And I'm so glad you said that, because we talk about community all the time, and that is so important. And the conversation that we had with so many people, but definitely with Dr. Tanya yesterday, we talked a lot about community. And as a community, it's not just Bill and I and who we're having the conversation with. It's everybody involved in this. So to your point, Eric, I think it's so important, because a lot of people read the comments, and I'll go back and read the comments, and someone will say, oh, that was so great what you just said. And I'm like, okay, but what did I just say? Or what did Bill do? Or what did whoever just say? Or there'll be things that people will comment about. And I know it's easy, and people are in the moment and they're excited and they want to support. And we appreciate absolutely everything of that. All you're saying, Eric, and all I'm saying is take that little bit of extra step and understand that they're also engaged in this. They may not be on screen, but they're also part of this power and the richness of the whole conversation. So put it down. And if you've ever, for anyone who's listened to Mark Cole's calls,
not his cold calls, his cold calls.
His cold calls. Yeah, exactly. We started a while ago, and we have this Tuesday Tribe, and it was Shane McKenzie that started a thread, and people started commenting, and people started basically taking notes in the comments of what Mark was saying. And it's so powerful. And the exchange that happens, because, you know, it's either Mark speaking or Mark having a conversation with one person, but there's more. There's hundreds of people in this conversation, fully, deeply engaged in it, getting value out of it. Because if you go back and look at those threads, sometimes there's never any less than 225 comments. And sometimes it's hundreds and hundreds of comments. And it's funny because what I started doing was I would take notes, and I would start, you know, there's many of us doing it, and we all have a little bit of different flavor, a little bit of a different take, a little bit different insight we add, even if we're writing the same words or capturing what Mark just said. But I started writing, and a few times I was writing so long in one comment, and 3 times I had a full, like, this big comment deleted, and I was just like ready to cry, and I'm like, oh no, I lost my comments. So I've actually started taking notes in Word. So I take the notes through the whole call now, the teaching part of the call. I'll take the notes in Word, and then I take them and post them into the comments afterwards. But it just goes to show the power in that. And I actually had, so get this wonderful lady from Saudi Arabia wrote me on Messenger a couple of weeks ago, and she said, for some reason I cannot copy your comments from the Facebook thread. Can you do that for me? And I'm like, I take them all in Word. They're all notes. So she's like, can you send me all your notes? So that in itself, like, there's so much value in all of this. And I didn't mean to go on and on about commenting, but I think it's important.
But what I want people to identify, and I know we've kind of like gone over the place, is that this is about community. And so many of us are out there trying to hack our belief systems, create a new life, develop a new business, a new faith, a new fitness, whatever area we're working on. And that you're, you know, we've all heard it, that you're the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or, you know, the 5 people that you're hanging out with is what you're going to become, or you're the, whatever variation. In today's technology, in today's world, in our current culture, this is one of the 5 people. It doesn't no longer have to be contained to somebody you can touch on the shoulder. That if you're in a community like Belief Hacker Nation, or you're following me on through this, and you start to engage, make those comments, take those notes, be present in that moment, now you've just added 1 person into those 5 that are going to become influencers in your thinking, in your beliefs, and in your mindset.
Absolutely.
And you've eliminated one of those, lesser supportive persons, one of the people that aren't hearing the message. I love when I see people either, you know, and you and I, like, we all run through different groups. It's sort of like we're in the mall shopping on Christmas Eve. Jumping in and out of groups and people and teachers and things like that. But I love when somebody will connect to me outside of a community about the community we just left. Like somebody the other day was like, I saw you in the room and you made this comment and that was so cool. Let's talk over here. And I'm like, I love the fact that I just added somebody to my circle of 5
absolutely,
that has the exact same beliefs, desires, ambitions. And I think that's why I love watching Belief Hacker Nation. I love the way you and William do it, is because you really are like, okay, we've opened our living room. Now, the fact that our living room happens to be about 4,000 miles apart from each other, and he's sitting on the beach in Hawaii, and I'm stuck in a snowdrift in Canada.
Exactly.
Please come in and be a part of it, is sort of the approach you guys take. When you look at where you were last year, where you look at where you're at today, what is the thing that you're like, man, this is just like, I can see where this is going and this excites me?
So a couple of things, and one, and this is actually part of it. So I'd said when you talked about interviews or mind shift moments that have impacted me, so I'll work that into this as well. But first I want to say, and this is the power in the opportunity that we all have from one end of this earth to the other end of this earth. And then I will say this, and some people may or may not know, but Bill and I have never met. We have
There's
never
many people
met
that
in
people
person.
assume we're best friends, and we've never like physically.
Exactly. People like, oh, we've known each other. We went to school. We, whatever. No, we've never physically ever met. So that's the power in this. So, and then exactly the point that you're saying, when someone connects outside of here, when someone from Saudi Arabia writes me and says, can I have your notes? Like that's incredible. So talk about impact, because it's an important part of where this is going, is that the other most impactful moments that I've had through the podcast or the mind shift moments is when it's impacted me personally. Like it all impacts me. But when I can sit there, and you could probably go back and see where I had a mind shift or something really touched me to my core, when something was released for me and it got unlocked, when I kind of went, oh my gosh. Like I've even had the people that know me very well contact me afterwards, call me, write me and say, what just happened there? Like my sister did it once, and she was like, what was that? Like, what just happened with you? What did you just figure out? So that's the other most impactful thing. So talk about where I was 2 years ago to now, and the things I've learned about myself. Invaluable, priceless, absolutely priceless. And the other part is, as you work through all of this, and as I have where would I ever have the opportunity to connect with all these people and learn this much about other people and myself? Where? Like it's just, it'd be impossible or exhaustive. Like it would be like, physically going out of my house every single day, spending 10 hours a day, walking the streets, trying to find people and say, hey, maybe I can connect with you. And what do you think about this? Like, so that for me, and really, I mean, the whole past few years for me, and really understanding who I am, what my purpose, my gift, and my calling is. Like that is priceless and invaluable in itself. But then living in that space, being that person that and now I'm really like, this is me. Like this is me 1000% authentic. And even now getting past that fear of, it's not that I do care what people think, because I care how I make people feel.
Yes.
But it's not going to change my mind about who I am and what my purpose, my gift, and calling is in life. So having that for me, and then really just connecting with people, and the people afterwards. We did this amazing, well, we've done so many amazing interviews, but when people call me afterwards and say, hey, I want you to be involved in this. You can add value here. I know you can help. I know I see you doing this. That part for me it's just been incredible. And when people look at me and say, hey, are you getting paid for this? Like, I'm like, no, I should be paying for this. Really and truly.
It's funny because I feel the same way sometimes. It's like free coaching for me, or going to a really good inspirational, motivational speaker mindset. And now I'm well over 780 of these things. The other night we were at the table talking, and somebody's like, how many have you done? I said, I think it's about 780. And they're like, what do you mean think? I'm like, well, I never intended to do more than the 30-day challenge.
Yes.
So I never started counting them, because I knew that at the end of the 30-day challenge, I would be done.
That was it. Yeah.
And so they were like, well, how'd you figure out with 780? I said, well, I remember what day I started the 30-day challenge, and I figured out how many days have been since, and I gave myself 10% not show up rate, which I don't even think is accurate. So you're right. We don't, but what I wanted, I know so much, and you have a really big following, and I know so many of our JMT brothers and sisters, or family, or whatever you want to term them as, are watching it and tuning in. I do not in any way discount rehearsing and preparing and creating a message. But what I will say is, the people that I work with and coach on creating a voice and understanding who and what their calling, so to speak, is, accelerate when they start doing podcast guest shows or doing appearances on things like yours. I was on two podcast guest spots yesterday. One was in England and one was in Australia. So I'm surprised that I'm not talking like somebody that drinks
where's
tea
your
all
accent?
day.
Exactly.
I need to go to, and now today I'm in Canada. So I'm just doing the entire United Kingdom.
All around the world.
Yes. God save the Queen.
Yes, exactly.
But in doing that, it requires me to really know, like, what is valuable to me, what is a message and a voice and a thing. And when
Yes.
you have that condensed amount of time, or when you're put under that positive pressure, it comes up, and then you go back and you listen to it, and it's like, man, who's that guy talking or that girl talking? I really want to follow them. And you realize it's you. Then go back and begin to rehearse it, then go back into building, then
Yes.
go back into growing it so that it becomes louder and clearer.
Yes.
And that's, I think you're the same when somebody says, I've never said this before. And it's because you've never let go of the need to rehearse long enough to become aware, as you called it, or access it.
Yeah. And that is why we do it the way that we do it, that you do it the way that you do it. Because I think that if we were to either try and script it or even write suggested things that people can talk about, we're not going to get what needs to come out. We're not. Like, I don't want to predispose people to what they should be saying. We just want it to flow. I know Bill feels, and I know you feel the same way as well, is that we're going to miss something. We're going to miss something. And it's so important in that moment that we don't, that we facilitate it. We allow it to come. And for some people it's hard. People, oh, but I don't know. And I will have people begging me, please, can you tell me what you think you're going to ask me? And the truth is, for the most part, that I didn't turn on my do not disturb because I didn't want to miss your notification going live. Yeah. So, and they will say, well, even what you think that you're, and I'm like, I really, and so
She's getting persistent. There we go, folks.
Yeah.
But what it's interesting is, so those that haven't been exposed to DISC, it's basically a behavioral style that people fall into. And so a C is a very calculated, cautious thinking. You know, if I was going to give them one word, I might say a CPA or an accountant would be a fit. And so when I do this and I get like, could you just tell me how we're going to start? Or what are the first 5 minutes?
Exactly.
Like, or what's,
exactly.
Like, okay, yeah. You're a C personality.
Yeah.
As much as I could honor that, I want to expose you to what it feels like to step out of that, because when you're out of that is when you're going to discover who you are. And so I say that is, if you're somebody that's like, man, I've been calling it, I'm hearing it, I've been trying to like perfect it, and I've been in my basement and I'm making my green screen and my logos. Take it all, walk it out to the curb. It's Friday, trash man's coming, and then just call William, call Donna and say, I'd love to be a guest on your show.
Please.
How do I make that happen? Call me and say, I'd love to be a guest on your show.
Exactly. Yes. There's so
I
many
laugh
people.
when people are saying, I'm so humbled you invited me. I'm like, no, I'm so humbled you accepted, because for anybody to show up and be authentic and real is a gift to the universe. And you and William have done such an amazing job of creating such a safe place for people to just arrive and experience and explode.
Thank you. That is our honor and our privilege, honestly and truly. And when we started with the first 21-day challenge,
you never thought it would be 22, so you never.
No, exactly. And also trying to encourage people. We knew we had people that are watching and that are listening, but I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do it. And even if I would say to people like that didn't want to, we'd ask people to post in the group, to do a Facebook Live, to do a message to the group. And at one point I said, just, hey, does anyone want to go live with me? Does anyone want to talk with me? Would that make you feel more comfortable with that? You know, it'll be just like us having a conversation. And I mean, who knows, probably that's how it somehow started, right? In that way, just getting together with people, because some people did reach out and say, yeah, I want to do it with you. Some people still haven't, but there's always ways of doing it. There are ways of doing it. And even if you don't want to come on camera, there's lots of ways of doing it. We've had people that didn't come on camera, actually. And this is the interesting thing, is that they didn't say, I'm not coming on camera. They wanted to be involved in the mind shift moment. They wanted us to have that conversation with them, but they didn't show up on camera. And okay, fine. They still added value, but we got it done. They still added tremendous insight and powerful messages, but they weren't on camera for whatever reason. We didn't even ask. We didn't even say, hey, you got to turn on your camera. We just flowed with it. And I think it's so important that when you start talking, and for me, it's interesting because people will say things like, I never have a problem talking. I've never had a problem talking. It doesn't, it doesn't bother me. It can be 3 people or 10,000 people. Like that's not the issue. But oh boy, this whole process for me, 2 things. One, not only has it really improved my skills, but it showed me who I really was, and it allows me to be who I really am.
I echo that. I am so, and I love it. I'm so amazed on 2 fronts when somebody who I know and admire is a speaker, like, man, their speaking fee is earned. And it's up there with a comma. And they'll come off a Facebook Live or an author talk, and they're like, man, that was hard, but it was so, I'm like, really? Because I've been in the cheap seats watching you with the spotlight
yes.
on. And no, because that I have, like, it's all rehearsed. And I'm not discounting either skill.
No.
And as you said, it requires a different part of me. And when I started doing these 700 and some ago, somebody said, well, why? And I was like, well, because it was a challenge and I never backed down from them, because that's just the stupid nature that I have.
Yeah.
But then it started making me learn, and it started making me collect content, and it started me becoming aware of what was good content and bad content and delivering content. And then, so it really, now, like if somebody would say, look, we've got a Lions Club meeting at 10 o'clock, our speaker backed out. We need 20 minutes. Could you do it? I'm like, I kind of do it every day. I think I might be able to pull something together. Let me go. And if worse comes to worse, I can go back as I'm driving and listen to one of my previous.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If your goal is to impact the world, if your goal is to leave a legacy, to transform lives, to connect with one person or 1,000 people or 10,000 people and bring something different into the universe, as Seth Godin said, if you're a speaker, you should be speaking, and here's a vehicle to do it. If you don't know the mechanics of it, that's the easy piece. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 done. It's some hacking the belief that I can't do it. I have several people that I love watching now that in the beginning I sort of coached on how to get through that belief. If I can't do it, what should I talk about? How did I do? And now they're like in their 100th video and things like that. I'm like,
amazing.
I remember your first one. And their first one was a private live between me and them.
Yeah.
And then behind their back, I posted it publicly, and they were like, what? No, I did without permission.
This is not public now, right?
No, this isn't public. It's just you and me practicing.
Exactly.
Nobody else is in the room, not even
nobody.
The thousands of people that are saying how much they enjoy you. So what I loved about when I posted you were going to be on, I don't know if you saw it all, but there were roses. I mean, there were smiley faces. There were dancing unicorns in sunshine. And many of the people I'm sure you haven't physically met. Some of them you may know.
No, I asked them all to post that, but I just don't tell anybody.
You got a great publicist. Some of them you may from hall passing at IMC. Why do you feel that you've been able to have such an authentic influence on people's lives?
Oh boy, that's ask Mark Cole that question. Because I laugh at this, and I was on a call one day, and it's through this whole process, and I know it's kind of I don't know. I'll answer it the best way that I can. Let's just say that. But it's actually funny because I actually did on a call one day, and it was Amy Millay or Amy Bragg, one of the Amy's, that had asked, that somehow got into a conversation with Mark, and he said, Amy, your purpose in life is this. And I'm like, oh, wow, he told her her purpose in life. So it just so happened I was next in the queue. So I said to Mark, hey, you told Amy, can you tell me? So actually, it was an incredible moment. And it was so, oh my gosh, I love Mark anyways. And just to hear him say what he said, and affirming some of the things I thought, but even telling me things I didn't really know. Um, so that was so important to me. But I Think and Grow Rich, for me, reading the book, going through the study, was life changing, absolutely life changing. And I mean, if we had a few more hours to talk, I could, I could probably evoke a lot of emotions to anyone, with you and me and whoever's watching, about the way that things evolved in my life and my own level of self-worth and who I thought I was and who I thought I should and shouldn't be, and so on. But that book for me was just incredible and changed my life and the way that I saw me as a person and how I could impact everyone around me. And the the whole thing, I don't know if anyone really tunes into vibrations and energy, and it's taken me a while to get there, actually. And there have been some pivotal moments in my life when I realized, like, oh my gosh, like what was that? And realizing that that was energy, that everything is energy. It's all energy, and whether it's negative or positive. And I thought that there was something wrong with me for a very long time and how I impacted people. I
What's
thought,
funny? I was gonna say on the energy thing. So in my office, I'm reaching. I don't know if you've seen one, but I have this giant quartz crystal singing bowl.
oh,
And
oh,
so,
that's amazing. That's
but what's
amazing.
interesting about it is where it sits in my office, when I'm speaking and as I'm changing my pitch, it will pick up my voice vibration. And I
Ah,
don't know
that's
if you can hear it in
incredible.
the background.
Yes, absolutely.
It'll start to hum on its own based on what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And so,
I gotta get one of those.
but what it made me realize is words are energy, as you said. And
Absolutely.
it's so easy for me to see it as, oh, words are energy. But when an object in my office starts to
Mm-hmm.
resonate from the words
Mm-hmm.
that I spoke, and we're sitting 4, 5, 6 feet away, what are the words that I'm speaking resonating in other people's hearts, in their minds, and in their spirits,
Mm-hmm.
and in their dreams?
Absolutely.
And so it always keeps me consciously aware, in a sense, of the power of words. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you talk about the Think and Grow Rich and the words that are in there, and yesterday when we talked through the I am thing here on Success Life Live, and I said, I
Mm-hmm.
am complete. When I said that the first time, I was like, oh, I'm complete. Like, I'm finally done with February. We can move on to something else, because I'm a little ADD. So 28 days was like really hard for me to stay focused on.
Uh-huh.
But then I
Uh-huh.
thought, what did I mean I'm complete? Oh my God, I'm, and I start to stutter, because it's like, I'm complete.
Mm-hmm.
And as Paul would say, you're fully resourced. And that,
Yes.
I understand what it means, but it didn't connect the same way. And I think that's what you're saying, is like, man, sometimes I hear something that I felt, but until I heard it, the energy didn't shift to a level that I could
Yeah.
work with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then not understanding this whole concept of energy and vibrations. And I used other not very nice words in the past, and coming to a realization through Think and Grow Rich, through studying it, through studying with Jeru, with Paul and Roddy, and with everyone on our team, through studying it. Now my word is magnetism.
Ooh.
And it really helped me to say, you know what, that's what it is. Because like I said, I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was broken. I thought I was bad. I thought this, whatever that thing was a bad thing.
So as we round down, I want to go back because you just dumped something really fast, and I'm
Here,
like,
take that.
I always feel like I'm, a waiter, the only waiter in a really busy New Year's
Yeah.
Eve restaurant because I'm jumping between tables.
Mm-hmm.
You said my word is magnetism. Did I get it right? So that's
Yeah.
your word for this year, your current word. I don't always, I think it
Well,
changes
it's
through
not
time.
even, no, it does change. And it's the word that I use to explain my whole life, like to explain that question that you asked me. And the reason why I said it was a really important word for me, and to just repeat again, because I had other really horrible, nasty words that I use to think about it or explain it. So
So
whether it's
make that practical because, I've got a bracelet and it's got my little word on it. I've got it framed in a picture frame on my desk so that I can see it, so that when I'm struggling, I remember what the word is. How do you use that word magnetism? Like if you were watching from inside or outside my brain, you would see when I activated that
Oh,
word.
this is such a fun question, and I don't know if my sweet friend Kimberly Hambrick is watching, but I'm going to talk about her in a second. And it's because when I realized through the Think and Grow Rich study about magnetism, and to be honest, I don't even remember if it's in the book. I mean, it talks about transmutation and everything. It might not, but
Well, we'll
that's
just
what
have
came
Paul
to me.
show up and answer that.
Exactly, exactly. But when, so how is that practical in my life that I realized that you asked, like, why do people say these things? Like, I don't know. I'm just me. Like, that's just who I am. And obviously, I show up positive. Obviously, I'm always trying to smile because I think it's important. I try to give off that, I try to help people and be positive all the time. We all have issues that we've gone through in life. I've had some pretty awful, traumatic things happen in my life, and that's why I thought I was broken, because I could still keep going after that. And there was a time when I thought, okay, oh wow, I must be really strong. And then I thought, no, there's something wrong with me, because I should be down, depressed, whatever, not functional, but I can still function. So what's wrong with me? But anyways, getting off topic. So this whole, it's being comfortable with that energy that you give off, how I give it off to people, how I give it differently to certain people and other people. Or there's some things that I just can't control, honestly and truly. There's some things I cannot control. It's just me. It's the way I show up. So I kind of have to try and figure out, how is that going to land over here? And oops, it landed there. Now what do I do with it? So that's kind of the practical part of this magnetism thing, but really getting comfortable with it, accepting it. And it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the Facebook Live with the Mindshift moment with Boyd, is that don't be afraid of your gifts, because I was afraid. Like, I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen now if I let, this out, or if I just do this in this setting, like, something bad's going to happen. Don't be afraid of it, because you have to know and understand and try and manage and control it. So that's the practical side of it. But it's really just a funny, quick story, is that I was in Pittsburgh to meet with Kimberly Hambrick and David McGlennen. So two of our JMT
Yay!
Collins.
He's my brother.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
my
So we
much
were,
older brother by like
oh my,
20 or 30
oh
years.
my gosh. And that's what Kimberly calls him too, the older brother. I don't think he's that old. Come on. Anyways, we're working together in a project, which I'm so blessed and grateful that I am. And, Kimberly and I talk a lot, and she's like, oh, I've talked to her. I've been very open with her. Like, like, why does this happen to me? And so on. Anyways, so this is silliest little story. And we talked about it through Think and Grow Rich and the law of attraction and, transmutation and all of those things. So we go to get lunch, and we're just talking. It's not to say that Kimberly is not magnetic at all. But it's just, we've had this, she was like, how do you do that? And why does this happen to you? And all of these things. So we go to get lunch, and through the process of getting lunch, we end up getting like all these free things. And I'm laughing. It's just like normal for me, right? So we walk out, and Kimberly's like, I get it now. I totally get it. We got free muffins because we were magnetic in there. And it may not be the words that she used, but it was like, we had a good laugh. And I think it's just a good example of, how do I do magnetism practically every single day? Is it now I understand it much better. I understand myself much better. I understand my gift and the power of my gifts and how to use them and control them and manage them for good, I guess.
And yeah, use your powers for good, not evil. And I think that's the perfect point. Is so often somebody will be like, okay, so I'm going to use magnetism, and you didn't wake up that morning saying, I'm going to use my power of magnetism to get free muffins. Free muffins,
No,
free muffins,
no.
free muffins.
Yeah.
Bring me free
Yeah.
muffins. I need me some free muffins.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
probably knowing you went through a process of bring me joy, bring me happiness, bring
Mm-hmm.
me, an opportunity to be of service, bring me an opportunity to teach. And the universe responded with, you know what, if I delivered free muffins, she's aware enough to use that as an example of how the universe works. So often I'll hear people get trapped in the cycle of the law of attraction or think and grow rich.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know what,
Yeah.
if you're sitting there like, bring me money, bring me money, bring me money, the universe is like, what do you want to do with that money?
Yeah,
And it's like, well,
exactly.
I want to pay off my house. And then the universe starts to say, well, wait a minute, do you want to pay off your house or do you want money? Because those are two different things, and I'm in conflict. And because I'm in conflict, I can't answer you because I'm a perfect and divine universe that wants to only deliver the best. And you're like, well, I don't really want to pay off my house. What I want to do is be debt free so that I can spend more time with my kids. Okay, so now I'm really confused. Do you want to be debt free, have money, pay off the house, or spend time with kids? And so I think that teaching and going through the Think and Grow Rich, or being in a coaching setting where that understanding is, if you can then say, what I want is financial freedom so that I can enjoy this piece of my life, or this is what I seek in life, the universe will say, look, here's what I'm giving you. I'm giving you the opportunity to become your kid's classroom teacher for a year. How much more time could you spend with them?
Yeah.
So I love the idea of that magnetism is your word, but you don't wake up every morning going, free muffins, free muffins, free muffins, free muffins.
No.
And I think that's why, as somebody who does a similar thing, it's like, oh, you kind of like, who can I have on the show today? I'm like starting to run out of friends in my Rolodex. Yeah. But because you operate from that, bring me the opportunity to learn, bring me the opportunity, draw to me a lesson, a learning, a sharing, or whatever, you're responded and rewarded accordingly.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think because you understand that it's through, not to, why you have so many people that are just like, Donna, I love Donna.
I don't know why. I don't know why people like me, but
well, I'm just
and
going
by
to
the
tell
way,
you.
and not everybody likes me. That's the thing. And then some people get that impression, and I know that. Like, I don't have that. I mean, and I think this is probably true for everybody, right? You don't always resonate with every single person. It's not every single person that I meet. I mean, I hope to have some sort of a positive impact, but that's just reality. And now, of course, someone's going to watch this. We're going to start to get the hate messages flowing, and okay, whatever. It's going to have to roll off my back.
So just to sort of, and I shouldn't share this.
Share it. Come on, you have to share it.
So
that's why we're here today, for you to share this.
Years ago, I used to be a director in summer camps. I was in college, and during the summer, because I didn't have a place to live, I would go and be a camp counselor because they provided housing. It made sense to me.
Great reason. I did the same.
Why not be homeless in the woods where they seem to give you a place to live?
That's right. Exactly.
It made really good sense. I was a very practical person. And at the end of the camp, as all summer camps, you give out those silly, stupid award kind of things, know. And I got this bag, and it was all those little like fuzzy balls, like the tassels that you put on things, pom-poms, I think they're called. And it said a bag of warm fuzzies for when you are more inclined to give cold pricklies.
Okay.
Basically, they were saying sometimes you really should have a few warm fuzzies in your toolkit because you're pretty good at the warm pricklies. And I thought, and I still have the bag, and this is a lifetime ago. I thought, that's really the vibe I gave off? Like really? Because that wasn't how I was intended to come across. That wasn't my object, but maybe because of fears and insecurities, and like that's the way it was received. And so to that, I learned that who I think I am versus who I'm received as is not always the same. But as I've
Mhm.
moved past that summer camp and I'm no longer homeless in the summer, I've
Yeah, that's a
realized
good
that
thing.
I can't control the reception. I can only
Mhm.
control the broadcast.
Yep, exactly.
And so when I say that, if you're jumping off and you're on Belief Hacker and you're like, I love her and I hate Eric, I'm like, great. That's cool because at least you're getting fed somewhere. At
Yeah,
least you're growing and learning. If you're jumping off and
exactly.
going
That's the thing.
to some, Roddy or Paul or something, like all of the Dr. Holly Kelly and all of these other people, it's like, that's great because our goal and the goal of Belief Hacker and you and William
Yes.
is to inspire people. What is it?
Think better, live better, be better.
I know. It's always so funny because you guys are like 3 seconds sync and he's like this and you're like trying to
Yeah.
catch up. It's all,
Yeah. Yeah.
you need to get a head start because he doesn't realize the time delay you're behind. But that is the goal of Belief Hacker Nation, is to think better, do better, be better.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is the
Yeah.
vehicle for it to
Simple.
happen, you're welcomed. And so who's on today's Belief Hacker?
Today we have Jill Anderson, actually.
And Sunday's podcast?
Yeah. Sunday is, oh my gosh, who do we have on Sunday now? Oh God, I can't even remember.
Uh-oh.
It just like went out of my head. I got to think about it and let me think about it for a second. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Not
They're
to discount the
probably
person
down
that's
here in
coming.
the comments typing, it's
Who
me.
was
Thanks.
the podcast? Because I actually, this is the funny thing. So talk about being raw and real, is that sometimes we schedule them in and we try to do this electronic schedule where I could see where everyone is. And I usually have to go back and remind myself, like, obviously I'm respectfully to people like we do our research, and Bill was talking about the stalking last night of Dr. Tanya, but it's not, I mean, no disrespect intended, but we're just, because we're doing it every day, we're going and flowing. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, there's this person that I'm trying to remember whose Sunday is terrible. I don't even have it written down, actually.
I'm not sure I could, and kudos to you guys, because when I say I'm not sure I could do it every day, to arrive knowing the guest and knowing and being into, it takes a lot of energy. Not just time, but it takes, it's
it's Mike Harbour. It's Mike Harbour. Mike, sorry. Bless you. I'm so excited to talk to Mike on Sunday. Yes,
I was on a pack committee with Mike, so good.
Mike's
good
awesome.
Yeah, the podcast is so fun.
Sorry, I interrupted your thought, but
no worry. What are you working on that people can connect with you outside of Belief Hacker? Not like that's not a great place to connect, but I know you're a person outside of Bill.
Yes. So there's other things that I'm working on, other things that are evolving, and I'm always happy to connect with people one-on-one. Especially, I'm working with Kimberly and I'm working with David McGlennen on emerging leaders, and really just this whole concept that leadership is genderless. And I have a heart for working with women leaders and women emerging leaders and leaders helping women emerge, if that makes any sense. Also, Jake and I are going to start to do something together, because we really haven't done anything together. So my son, Jake. Okay. So if anyone doesn't know Jake, so Jake was the youngest certified John Maxwell team member in the adult certification program when he was 10 years old. So he went to the adult program, and God bless Paul Martinelli for saying that he could come, because he wanted to come. And he went through the entire program. And you alluded to this fact, Eric, with your friend coming. It's not a vacation, I'm telling you. And it wasn't for him either. He went, and he was like 7 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, full on like any other adult in the room. So he started doing Jake's Journey with Chris Baker afterwards. He's done some of his own videos. He's done a lot of, you should get Jake on here, actually.
Tell Jake that we're going to do a Fun Friend Friday when he's off school.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to allow him to play hooky for it.
No, he can't.
No, spring break coming up.
So Jake and I are going to do some things together as well, working with individuals, whether individual coaching clients. Of course, working within businesses and corporations. I have a huge corporate background of 30 years. And, other things that are evolving, and things through Belief Hacker Nation that we're going to be doing more and more as well. I mean, I really want to keep these things together and, you know, make sure that everything is complementary, but I want to make sure that I can have, you know, enough energy and focus to put into things, the important things that I'm doing where I can add more value to people. Yeah.
I love that. I love the idea. Jake's how old now? 12, 13?
Jake is 11 now. He's turning 12 in May. Yeah.
Well, I have a 10-year-old today. So
I know. Happy birthday. That's right. Happy birthday.
It's
Double
funny.
digits.
I've been very, like today I said, this is your first breakfast as a 10-year-old. He was like, okay, I get it. like after this is your first time going pee as a 10-year-old, this is your first time turning off the alarm clock as a 10-year-old.
Oh, you're so like me. Yeah.
But I wanted to do it partly because, oh, this is not going to work. I was thinking in my meditation this morning that he is a representation of a promise fulfilled. And so often we go through, please, 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 and we forget to recognize a promise fulfilled. So when I began in the 80s working in foster care and being involved in the services of kids in need, I always thought, wow, it'd be cool to be a dad someday. It'd be cool to be a dad. Like, it was a passing thought. And then 20 years ago when we got together, my partner and I were like, wouldn't it be cool to be dad? I'm like, God, I'd love to be a dad. Like, and then we spent 13 years in the adoption process, and we would get to 13 years. Yeah, we'd get to the finish line and it'd be rejected, or we'd have a placement or a match. It just the process itself. And then when he arrived as a foster care, and then he was going to be moved out of state and into a family that was for adoption. And we're like, well, wait a minute, why not us? And so it was a 2.5-year court battle to finally be placed as the adoptive choice. And so when I was sitting there today, and it wasn't something I had focused on intentionally, I was like, oh my gosh, that's almost like a 30-year promise fulfilled. Yeah. Like I've almost been like out in the desert for 40 years. And as I was looking at him and we were talking about, you know, we had a moment, and I'm thinking like, you're a promise fulfilled. Like how can I be teasing about this being your first time peeing as a 10-year-old when in fact you're evidence of God's divine promise that it will be fulfilled. And so it'll be fun to celebrate it. But when I guess when I came to that realization is so often when we're trying to change our beliefs, when we're trying to transform our lives, when we're seeking something, we're asking for a promise to be fulfilled. And it happens and we don't always recognize it. And I'm asking you guys to look around and be like, wait a minute, I'm living in promises fulfilled. I am living in promises fulfilled and ignoring them and begging for more. How is that fair to the divine universe of God to say that I asked and received and I didn't acknowledge and now I'm asking for more? Yeah. I won't let my son get away with that behavior. The universe won't let you get away with that behavior. Promises are being fulfilled. Promises are being fulfilled in your life and you're not acknowledging them because they are not showing up the way you thought they were. I mean, I remember at one point, oh Lord, now it's got to be 12 years ago, we were literally on a plane going to adopt 5 siblings. We had bought a new car so we could hold 5 siblings. It was one of those big Jimmys on a plane heading to go adopt them. And as we were literally going through the airport, they said, no, the state won't permit it. Terminating of the process. No. And I was like, and so we all go through those moments of thinking, this is it. This is where it's going to be fulfilled. It doesn't happen, but it happens. And so I think one of the things that I love about what you're experiencing and what you're bringing forth in the stories and the testimonies that you're creating through Belief Hacker Nation is you're showing people daily that dreams do happen. The fact that Boyd was on yesterday with his second or third head surgery.
It's his second.
Second. Yeah.
It's his second.
And he had a brain tumor twice and he's worried about being able to drive to his next appointment. He's a promise fulfilled.
Yeah,
that he would have an opportunity to impact the world. What is a promise in your life that's been fulfilled?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I'm like, how am I going to work this story into what you just said? Because it's so relevant to what you were just talking about. And for me, I'm blessed and grateful every single day for so many amazing things in my life. Not that there weren't some really terrible things in my life. So I'm going to talk about that for a moment. And as you talked about your story and going through and anticipating and planning for having 5 kids in your life and it not happening. So I have 2 older kids. They are 26 and 24.
Can't do that.
And I always wanted to have more kids for lots of different circumstances. It didn't happen. And if there's one thing that I have realized in my life about promises, about miracles, about things that were meant to be long before I even came on this earth, that was the plan. Because I have Kyle and Megan, and then lots of things happened in my life, including the loss of a baby at birth. So about a year or so before Jake was born, I had a daughter that died at birth.
Mm.
And it obviously was traumatic. And I thought, that's it. I cannot do this again. I can't do it I can't even imagine having to go through this again. But then I had a mind shift and I wanted to do it again and to try again. But the reason that I did was because I wanted her back. I thought, no, I'm going to get her back. I'm going to get her back. And going through the process of conceiving Jake and going through the pregnancy, and of course, because of everything that happened, having, tests done to make sure that everything was going to be fine, and finding out before he was born that it was a boy, I'm going to be real and raw now. I was devastated. Because I thought, no, this is not the way it was supposed to be. And I was absolutely, we had some good conversations. Let me tell you, you messed up
I've had a
somehow.
few myself.
You messed up somehow because you didn't send me the right package. And of course, that is, and then so many times in Jake's lifetime that I've and we have these conversations. It was him that was supposed to be. That is my promise fulfilled, and so many others. And I mean, every one of my children, and I love them all very dearly. But just going through that whole experience and wanting to conceive again because I wanted to have my daughter back. She was never coming back. Even if I had conceived a girl, it wasn't going to be her.
No, and I think that really speaks to the idea that it's not always the vehicle, but the destination.
Absolutely.
My desire was to know what it would be like to be a dad. I mean, I wanted that experience of being called dad. And I had, over the course of the 13 plus years, many okay, this is where it starts. And now it's funny because my son will call me dad and I'll call him son. I love that. He'll go, dad, and I'm like, son. And I do it sort of mockingly, that's our relationship. And he has 1,000 nicknames too, but I always or he'll go, dad, and I'll go, son, and he'll go, dad, and we'll do this back and forth.
You do the names, yeah.
We just keep doing it. And it's because I love hearing it. I never in a million years saw him as the vehicle for that word. And then with my daughter and her auditory issues because of cerebral palsy, when she says it's so much different because she was never supposed to live, let alone talk and walk and do the miracles that she are.
Exactly.
So I know we've gone all over the place. I feel
we have.
I feel like I'm gone from Canada to Australia to New Zealand.
I know.
But I think it's important that so many people that are watching and seeing your success and seeing the impact and the influence that you're making, and so often we want to copy it and replicate it and try and make it look exactly the same. Find out what promise you're begging to be filled.
Yeah.
Really listen in with your heart. Get with a coach, get with a mentor, get with a mindset person, get with a group of girlfriends and a bottle of wine. And
absolutely.
chat it out. Whatever it takes, and hear what promise you're really asking for. Is it the money? or is it the freedom?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the free muffin or the opportunity to experience joy?
Mm-hmm.
And once you do that, the vehicle will show up. And
Yeah.
you and William have done a magnificent job of mastering the vehicle that you're in.
It again, I come back. It's an honor and a privilege, and we do it with the greatest of humility and just the desire to serve. And to be honest, like, duplicate us, copy us. It doesn't matter. Like, do it, because that just means more people's lives are touched. But do it in your own way, out of your own authenticity as well. Do it exactly the same if you want it. If it works, great. Just serve people. Just help people. Just make people's lives better, and get people talking and having those conversations, because there are so many people out there that need help to varying degrees that we don't even know. Because when I look at somebody that I admire for their ability to get up on a stage and speak and to convey a message and to have an impact on people, but that person says to me, I'm scared to death when they've done it 150 times, when, you know, she's going to speak and she says, like, can you, like, just pray for me, just make sure I'm going to be okay, because I'm scared to death. And I'm like, what do you mean you're scared? We don't know. We have no idea
Oh, yeah.
of the impact that we're going to
Yeah.
have. There's a lot of people that need help out there. There's a
Well,
lot of people.
I so want to thank you for being a guest today on Fun Friend Friday. But what I want to acknowledge is, I think your success, and we're not talking awards and stars on the, you know, the bulletin board, but I think what makes your magnetism extra special is you do show up fully committed to being of service to others, and that shines through at such a high level that people feel safe being in your company, because they know that you're only there to serve and not to take. And so I want to really push into you to hear that your servant heart is seen, your servant heart is felt, your desire to lift up and empower and impact and give to people is so evident in everything that I've seen you do.
You make me cry
stop.
now.
Please don't
You're
stop.
gonna make me cry.
No, I know it is difficult. I know it is time consuming. I know what it's like to do what you're doing. And sometimes it doesn't feel like you're making traction when the little corner button says you've got 3 viewers and you've been on the air for 4 hours, or this is your 100 and something. You're impacting so deeply and so clearly and so profoundly that I think you're beginning to make generational impacts. And I think Jake is the second generation, which means he's going to impact thirds and fourths. So you're transforming history with what you do.
I never saw it that way, but thank you so much. And that means so much to me, when it's not easy when you put yourself out there, right? And you wonder, am I really helping anybody? But your words mean more to me than I could ever even express. Eric, thank you so much. And from someone that I admire so much, that I look at, that I follow, that I'm like writing notes on what you're saying every day. It's like, for you to say that to me, it just, honestly, it means the world. It means the world.
I give it easily and freely to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, I so appreciate you guys. I know we had a little bit long of a Fun Friend Friday, but you know what? I could be here all day, but we all got success to go out and create and conquer, and other people to serve.
Yes,
so
we do.
Do me a favor, jump over to Belief Hacker Nation. I know that Elizabeth put a link in there, and I know you've got podcasts and things coming up. One of the things you have to do with Belief Hacker people, William or Donna, is you've got to get the notification link on Facebook, because they're somewhat unscheduled. You're going to miss them if you don't click the notification schedule. But that's not a problem, because you can always watch them in the replay. And you guys are loading them up to YouTube now, aren't you?
Yeah, that's coming. Yes. Yep.
So there will always be a library to go back and look into.
Absolutely.
And
come on with us. Get on with us. Get on with Eric.
We should just swap guests. Like, I'll have Monday and you
exactly.
have Wednesday.
Yeah,
we
can do that.
I want to get Preacher Brian on Fun Friend Friday.
Oh, you got to get Brian. I love Brian. Oh my gosh, and you guys have a great dynamic too.
It was funny because I kept trying to like put William in the corner so I could go talk to Brian, because there's something interesting and cool about him I want to explore. But again, you guys, thank you so much for joining me
Thank you
today.
so much, Eric. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, it was such a joy. I'll see everybody on Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern for another Success Life Live. By then, my son will be 10 years and 3 days old, and the novelty might wear off. We'll see. And,
it might.
Yeah, who knows? But
And
until
Eva,
then, you guys,
giving
I'm sorry.
big hugs and kisses to your daughter too for fast healing, and you guys are doing amazing.
And we sent out a little prayer update in case you didn't get it. Stop praying for people. We're past that. We're well past that.
Good.
We have a lot of pain medicines and opiate medicines, and we don't need those prayers anymore. Y'all can cancel those.
There you go.
Pull them back, please. She's doing remarkably well. She's complaining about having to be stuck in her chair, and I have to keep reminding her, we've got 10 more weeks of this, dear. Let's just work our way through it.
That's right.
So she is receiving your prayers. They are healing, and they're like I said yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm over this, and she was over it. But the doctors are still keeping her contained. So I appreciate your prayers and your concerns for her.
So thank you so much again. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. And I'm definitely going to send guests your way. You got to get Jake on. It'll be a fun.
I will. Well, yeah, we'll figure out when his school schedule is, and if we have to move a Fun Friend Friday to a Team Tuesday, we can.
Okay, perfect. That's awesome. Right. Thank you
so
much.
Thank you guys. Remember, share it out and make sure other people become aware of the conversation.
Thanks, everybody.
So that they can be transformed as well. Bye-bye, everybody. See you guys.
Bye, everybody. Have an amazing weekend. Bye.